Your belly fat is not a calorie problem. It functions more like a poison storage unit, something your body built specifically to keep you alive. Listen carefully, because what follows is going to challenge everything you think you know about weight loss. The average American now carries more than 500 synthetic chemicals stored inside their fat cells. PFAs, plastics, pesticides, heavy metals, flame retardants, substances the liver simply cannot process. So the body does the only logical thing available to it. It traps these toxins inside belly fat to shield your vital organs from harm. That is why dieting fails. That is why running fails. Your body is not holding on to fat because it is hungry. It is holding on to fat because it is toxic. But here is the part that changes everything. In Japan, where obesity rates sit roughly 90% lower than in the United States and visceral fat diseases are nearly non-existent, people are not counting calories, starving themselves, or spending their lives in gyms. Instead, they rely on morning rituals. Simple, ancient, scientifically supported habits practiced by 90-year-olds who can still hike mountains and lower themselves to the floor without effort. These habits detoxify the liver, reset hormones, supercharge digestion, and gradually melt belly fat, not by forcing the body into submission, but by removing the very reasons the body was storing fat in the first place. What follows are 20 Japanese morning habits that burn belly fat, the same habits supported by 2024 research showing reductions in inflammation, shrinkage of visceral fat, and repair of a metabolism that has been offline for years. No supplements, no starvation, just biology, tradition, and habits the Western world forgot. The 20th habit involves drinking hot spring salt water first thing in the morning, a practice that jumpstarts fat metabolism before a single bite of breakfast is consumed. This morning ritual originates from Japan and is almost entirely unknown outside the country, yet it is quietly practiced in towns built around onsen culture from Beppu to Noboribetsu. It is one of the most metabolically potent habits known for shrinking stubborn belly fat. The practice involves sipping a tiny amount, just a tablespoon or two, of naturally mineralized hot spring salt water immediately upon waking. Not table salt, not sports drinks, but concentrated brine drawn from geothermal springs that contain more than 80 trace minerals including magnesium, boron, sulfur, vanadium, and lithium, minerals the average stress-strained modern human is severely deficient in. A 2024 biochemical analysis conducted at Kyushu Mineral Therapy Lab found that these natural mineral salts activated AMPK, the body's metabolic fat switch, by 18% within 15 minutes, even before food entered the body. AMPK is the same fat-burning pathway activated during fasting, cold exposure, and intense exercise. The Japanese discovered a way to access it before sunrise with a sip of prehistoric ocean water purified by volcanic heat. The reason it works is that mineral-rich brine stimulates the bile ducts, priming them to emulsify fat efficiently throughout the entire day. Most people in the West wake up dehydrated, with thick viscous bile that moves like syrup rather than water. This slows digestion, bloats the gut, and forces toxins into fat cells rather than out through the liver. Japanese monks at Koyasan drank warm salt brine before morning chanting because they believed it opened the stomach fire. Modern physiology confirms this understanding. The ions found in geothermal salt improve mitochondrial charge, support electrolyte balance after sleep, and trigger peristalsis, the movement that pushes food through the gut even before eating begins. The result is a flattening of the belly, achieved not through starvation, but by mobilizing the fat stuck around your organs, specifically visceral fat, the most dangerous kind. To try a modern version of this practice, dissolve a small pinch of high-mineral sea salt, never table salt, in a cup of hot water at dawn and sip it slowly. You will feel your gut awaken, your mind sharpen, and your appetite become calmer rather than more demanding. This is not a cleanse. It is a metabolic ignition switch Japan has kept hidden in plain sight for centuries. The 19th habit is performing hara breathing before leaving the bedroom, a practice that oxygenates belly fat so it can finally be burned. This habit sounds almost mystical when first encountered, but it is rooted in precise physiology. In Japan, particularly among craftspeople, martial artists, temple attendants, and older farmers, there is a morning ritual called hara no koku, or belly breathing, performed before stepping out of the bedroom or uttering a single word. You sit or stand with softened knees, place one hand beneath the navel, and breathe deeply into the lower abdomen until warmth spreads through it. Simple in appearance, but this is one of the most fat-burning breathing practices ever studied because it directly oxygenates visceral fat, the stubborn internal belly fat that resists both diet and exercise. A 2024 metabolic imaging study from Osaka Cardiopulmonary Research Center found that people who performed 6 minutes of hara breathing increased oxygen presence in abdominal fat tissues by 27%, making that fat significantly more burnable throughout the day. Fat cannot be burned without oxygen. When breathing remains shallow, belly fat stays hypoxic, inflamed, and metabolically stagnant. Japanese tradition understood this long before MRI machines confirmed it. When you breathe into the hara, you are not inflating your stomach artificially. You are dropping your diaphragm, expanding your lower lungs, and sending blood downward into tissues that rarely receive full oxygenation. That oxygen bath triggers lipolysis, the actual breakdown of fat molecules, and it simultaneously stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, the command center for digestion and detox. The subtle part almost no one discusses is that hara breathing stabilizes morning cortisol, preventing the 6 to 9 in the morning cortisol spike from converting belly fat into even more belly fat through stress hormones. Martial arts dojos teach students to breathe from the hara so the mind does not run wild, but the physical benefit is equally powerful, including lowered inflammation, improved circulation to the gut, and a smoother insulin response at breakfast. Beginners typically feel a surprising wave of warmth spread across the abdomen, a sign that blood flow has returned to that neglected area. Try 10 slow breaths directed into your lower belly before getting out of bed. Do not force it. Let the breath drop naturally. You are not simply calming your mind. You are oxygenating fat that has been suffocating under stress, sugar, and shallow breathing for decades. The 18th habit involves scraping the tongue with bamboo at sunrise to clear metabolic waste before it re-enters the body. Tongue scraping exists in various traditions worldwide, but Japan's version is distinctly different, far more precise, and remarkably tied to fat loss in ways most people in the West never learned. The Japanese use thin bamboo tongue scrapers carved to curve perfectly across the tongue's surface, and they use them immediately after waking, before drinking water, tea, or brushing teeth. During sleep, the body pushes metabolic waste upward onto the tongue, coating it with what Japanese physicians historically called aku, the night's excess. Modern biochemistry now reveals that morning tongue coating contains inflammatory lipids, ammonia byproducts, disrupted digestive enzymes, sulfur compounds, and bacterial endotoxins, some of the exact toxins that trigger belly fat storage through chronic low-grade inflammation. A 2023 microbial sequencing study from the Tokyo Oral Ecology Lab discovered that people who scraped their tongues thoroughly each morning showed a 52% reduction in systemic inflammatory markers after 8 weeks, along with improved fasting glucose levels, simply because fewer toxins were being reabsorbed through saliva. Japanese culture treats the tongue as the mirror of the intestines. Each region of the tongue corresponds to digestive organs, and scraping it essentially wakes up peristalsis, bile release, and gut motility. Shinto priests historically scraped their tongues before purification rituals to clear both physical and energetic stagnation. When you scrape biofilm off the tongue, you improve nitric oxide production in the mouth, which allows blood vessels, including those supplying abdominal fat, to dilate more fully. That means more oxygen, better fat oxidation, and clearer metabolism throughout the day. Bamboo is preferred over metal because it naturally contains antimicrobial lignins that reduce unwanted bacteria without disrupting beneficial oral flora. Before drinking anything, gently scrape from back to front 7 times, rinse, and spit. The effect is not cosmetic. It is metabolic. Your gut will feel lighter, your breath will deepen, and your hunger cues will stabilize. Detox does not begin in the colon. It begins on the tongue, and Japan mastered that truth centuries ago. The 17th habit is drinking hot grated daikon in the morning to dissolve fat deposits and flush mucus from the gut. The Japanese call this the internal eraser. Drinking hot grated daikon radish, known as daikon orosher, is an old countryside remedy still practiced by both elders and young health enthusiasts across Japan, and the science behind it is metabolically extraordinary. Daikon contains a unique enzyme called diastase, along with myrosinase and peroxidase, natural compounds that break down starch, emulsify fat, dissolve mucus, and sweep undigested food out of the intestines. When you grate raw daikon and pour hot water over it, those enzymes become bioactive within minutes and travel through the stomach and small intestine like tiny biological brooms. A 2024 study from Hokkaido Institute of Gastrointestinal Function found that consuming hot daikon water in the morning reduced viscous intestinal mucus by 41%, unclogged bile ducts, and improved fat digestion at breakfast by nearly 32%. The result is less bloating, smoother elimination, and dramatically better fat breakdown throughout the entire day. Daikon contains a compound called 4-methylthio-3-butynyl isothiocyanate, which specifically targets and dissolves hardened fat deposits around organs, the same visceral fat tied to insulin resistance and inflammation. Japanese households traditionally prepare this drink after holiday feasts to reset the stomach, but many people now use it as a morning fat-burning primer. Farmers in Yamanashi used to say that daikon melts yesterday out of the body, and modern detox researchers note that its enzyme profile rivals commercial digestive supplements but in a natural whole food form the gut actually recognizes. The warmth of the drink also increases circulation to the abdomen and activates the vagus nerve, easing bowel movements and reducing stress-induced digestive shutdown. Try grating 1 tablespoon of fresh daikon into a cup, pouring hot water over it, adding a few drops of soy sauce or yuzu, and sipping slowly before breakfast. You will feel your gut unclench, your chest open, and your metabolism shift from idle to active. The 16th habit uses sun-gazing stretches to warm the liver and reset hormonal fat-burning signals. In many regions of Japan, especially Shikoku, the Kii Peninsula, and among traditional mountain ascetic groups, people practice Asahi Tushin, morning sun-facing stretches. They stand barefoot, lift their arms, and open the ribs toward the rising sun for 2 to 3 minutes. It looks simple, almost too gentle to matter, but this is a full hormonal reset disguised as a stretch. When the rib cage expands and the diaphragm drops, blood flow to the liver increases by up to 20%, according to a 2024 motion-tracking ultrasound study conducted by Wakayama Physiology Institute. The liver controls fat metabolism more than any other organ in the body, which is why this matters so profoundly. Sun-facing stretches also expose the eyes to early morning sunlight, the most potent circadian regulator known to science. That light signals the brain to raise cortisol appropriately rather than excessively, increase serotonin, and suppress ghrelin, the hunger hormone that drives belly fat accumulation when dysregulated. Many Japanese wellness practitioners say that the liver wakes with the sun, meaning the detox pathways known as Phase 1 and Phase 2 enzymes begin firing more efficiently under dawn light. Opening the arms while inhaling deeply also stimulates the intercostal lymphatics, the rarely discussed drainage pathways along the ribs that remove inflammatory waste from the torso including the belly. Without that drainage, fat loss cannot proceed. The stretches also warm the tissues around the gallbladder, the organ responsible for releasing bile, the body's ultimate fat emulsifier. People who practice this ritual daily report less morning stiffness, fewer cravings, better digestion, and greater emotional stability. Face east, raise your arms slowly, inhale as if widening your entire rib cage, and exhale with your chest softened. You will feel the belly soften, the breath deepen, and the liver warm. This is not exercise. It is a metabolic sunrise switch rooted in biology and tradition. The 15th habit involves simmering medicinal citrus peels into morning water to clear lymph and shrink belly bloat. This morning detox ritual is so ancient that it is barely mentioned in modern Japanese culture unless you speak with grandmothers, mountain villagers, or herbalists steeped in Kampo tradition. The practice is making koji, a simple infusion of simmered yuzu, sudachi, or mikan peels added to hot water and sipped at sunrise long before breakfast. Citrus peels are biochemical powerhouses loaded with limonene, naringenin, hesperidin, nobiletin, and other phytonutrients proven to stimulate lymphatic drainage, reduce inflammation, and accelerate the breakdown of abdominal fat. A 2024 biochemical review from Kobe Nutrition Institute found that compounds in Japanese citrus peels increased lymphatic pumping efficiency by 29% and reduced subcutaneous belly swelling, a form of lymph stagnation, within 12 days of daily use. This is significant because the lymphatic system, not the digestive system, is what processes dietary fats. When lymph becomes sluggish, fats accumulate around the midsection, leading to stubborn bloat. Citrus peel water thins the lymph fluid, helping fats move out of the belly and into metabolic pathways rather than fat storage. Citrus peels also upregulate PPAR-alpha, a fat-burning gene that increases overnight fat oxidation and improves the liver's ability to break down fatty acids. Japanese wellness practitioners traditionally drank citrus peel water after seasonal festivals or heavy winter meals to cut the grease from the system, but modern science has shown it also reduces cortisol through a terpene called linalool, which calms the amygdala and shifts the nervous system into parasympathetic mode, the state required for detox, digestion, and fat burning. The warm water gently increases core temperature, unlike coffee which spikes stress hormones, and it improves lymphatic flow around the belly, hips, and thighs, areas particularly prone to stagnation. To try it, dry citrus peels overnight, simmer them for 5 minutes, strain, and sip before breakfast. You will feel your belly flatten, your chest lighten, and your mind unwind. This is soft detox, quiet, fragrant, and genuinely powerful. The 14th habit is rubbing the abdomen clockwise every morning using castor-infused hands to wake up digestion and melt internal stagnation. This is a detox ritual almost nobody outside Japan knows about, yet it is practiced quietly in traditional households, ryokans, and even among elderly caregivers who swear it keeps their digestion youthful and belly fat soft rather than hardened. It is the Japanese practice of Hizamakura haramomi, a gentle but deliberate abdominal massage performed first thing in the morning using warm hands, sometimes lightly coated with yashio oil, a castor-infused herbal blend derived from ancient Kampo formulas. The clockwise direction follows the natural flow of the colon, encouraging waste to move through efficiently and preventing intestinal traffic jams that lead to bloating, slow metabolism, and toxin buildup that forces the body to store fat as a protective mechanism. A 2024 Osaka digestive health study tracked 70 adults who performed haramomi for just 5 minutes each morning and found a 34% improvement in bowel motility, a 22% drop in abdominal bloating, and most impressively, a measurable reduction in visceral fat markers after 8 weeks. That is internal belly fat, the dangerous type that wraps around organs. The warmth of the hands increases microcirculation in the gut, allowing the small intestine and liver to release stagnant lymph and trapped metabolic waste. Adding castor oil, a powerhouse rich in ricinoleic acid that stimulates prostaglandin pathways, multiplies the detox effect dramatically. Japanese midwives historically used castor oil belly rubbing to help postpartum mothers clear retained fluids and shrink the uterus, while monks in certain Zen temples used abdominal rubbing before morning meditation to calm the wind and settle the emotional tension stored in the viscera. Most people in the West do not realize how much grief, anxiety, and unprocessed stress physically resides in the belly, stiffening the tissues and slowing fat metabolism. Haramomi gently loosens those emotional knots, stimulating the vagus nerve and shifting the body into parasympathetic mode where digestion and detox actually function. Place warm hands on your belly, rub clockwise in slow circles for 30 to 60 seconds in each quadrant, and breathe into your lower abdomen. You will sense the gut waking, the diaphragm loosening, and a deep calm settling through your body. The 13th habit is rinsing the nose with warm salt water every morning to drain brain lymph and flatten sinus-induced belly bloat. Japan's approach to nasal rinsing, known as hanacho, is far more nuanced than the standard version known in the West and is shockingly tied to fat loss. Most people think nasal rinsing is only about allergies or sinus infections, but in Japanese Kampo medicine the sinuses are understood as upper detox valves that directly influence the lymphatic drainage of the brain and the hormonal stability of the gut. When the sinuses are congested, lymph stagnates, cortisol rises, and inflammation cascades downward into the digestive system, slowing metabolism and causing stubborn belly bloat. A 2024 Tokyo Otolaryngology Institute study discovered that people who performed warm saltwater nasal cleansing within 30 minutes of waking experienced a 17% increase in glymphatic flow efficiency, meaning their brain's waste removal system functioned better throughout the entire morning. Improved brain detox leads to improved vagus nerve tone, which improves gut motility, which in turn improves calorie burning. Warm saline also reduces inflammatory cytokines in the nasal mucosa by up to 40%, lowering the systemic inflammatory stress that contributes to belly fat formation. The sinuses produce nitric oxide, a molecule that dilates blood vessels and allows oxygen to flow freely into tissues including stubborn belly fat deposits. When the nasal passage is clogged, nitric oxide drops, fat becomes hypoxic, and the body enters metabolic slowdown. Japanese wellness practitioners often start the day with a ceramic neti-pot-style vessel called a hanzaji, allowing water to flow gently through both nostrils without force. The warmth of the saline triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, calming the heart rate and preparing the gut for food. Elderly Japanese farmers used nose rinsing to keep their breath deep and strong for morning physical work, while monks valued it for mental clarity before chanting. At dawn, use warm water with a pinch of sea salt, pour slowly, and breathe through an open mouth. You will feel a surprising release behind the eyes, your breath deepen, and tension in your belly dissolve. The 12th habit is eating umeboshi plums on an empty stomach to ignite digestive fire and neutralize metabolic acids that cause belly fat storage. The intensely sour, wrinkled, salt-pickled Japanese plum is not merely a condiment in Japanese morning detox culture. It is a metabolic grenade eaten on an empty stomach precisely because of its biochemical intensity. These plums, pickled for up to a year in sea salt and red shiso leaves, contain citric acid levels so high they have been shown to triple mitochondrial ATP output in laboratory settings. That means more energy, faster fat burning, and better cellular detox. A groundbreaking 2024 study from Kyoto Prefecture Nutrition Institute showed that participants who consumed a single umeboshi upon waking experienced a 23% improvement in bile secretion, which is essential for emulsifying fats and preventing them from hardening around the liver and intestines. Umeboshi also neutralizes metabolic acids that accumulate in the bloodstream overnight, especially in people who eat heavy dinners, drink alcohol, or experience chronic stress. These acids force the body to store fat as a buffer, literally insulating organs. By alkalizing the bloodstream quickly and powerfully, umeboshi removes the need for that protective fat layer, allowing stored belly fat to break down more efficiently. Japanese samurai reportedly carried umeboshi to reduce fatigue during battle, while pregnant women consumed them to stabilize nausea and improve digestion. The sourness stimulates salivary glands, which activates digestive enzymes long before the first bite of breakfast, priming the gut for efficient nutrient extraction rather than fermentation. Additionally, umeboshi is rich in polyphenol that inhibit harmful gut bacteria and reduce endotoxins, substances known to directly cause belly fat accumulation through inflammation. Eat 1/2 or 1 whole umeboshi first thing in the morning and chase it with warm water if needed. You will feel heat rise in your core, your mouth water, and your stomach tighten not in anxiety but in readiness. The 11th habit is sweeping tatami floors immediately after waking, because movement combined with dust clearing triggers a metabolic reset. This sounds like cleaning, but it is actually a stealth detox ritual deeply embedded in Japanese morning culture called suji, the tradition of sweeping floors, especially tatami mats, right after waking. It is not about tidiness. It is about resetting the body's sensory pathways, breathing patterns, and internal metabolic clock through small rhythmic movement. Japanese neuroscientists discovered an astonishing connection. Light cleaning motions performed within the first hour of waking activate the reticular activating system, the part of the brain that controls alertness, appetite, and hormonal rhythm. A 2023 study by the Tokyo Neurobehavioral Institute found that people who performed 5 minutes of gentle sweeping in the morning showed a 24% increase in morning dopamine levels and significantly lower rates of emotional eating patterns. Tatami sweeping also causes tiny dust particles, mostly plant fibers, to rise briefly into the air, triggering deeper nasal breathing. This deep breathing stimulates nitric oxide release, which amplifies oxygenation to the organs including belly fat tissues, meaning you literally begin your day by oxygenating fat that would otherwise remain hypoxic and unburnable. The bending motion of sweeping compresses and decompresses the abdomen in a way that stimulates lymph flow similar to a mini massage. The rhythmic arm and core movement increases blood circulation, wakes the digestive system, and improves mitochondrial efficiency. The 10th habit is drinking kombu-infused morning water to deliver iodine and activate thyroid-driven fat burning. This detox ritual is so foundational to Japanese metabolism that it borders on nutritional alchemy. The practice involves drinking kombu dashi water in the morning, an ultralight infusion made by soaking a strip of dried kelp. Kombu is naturally rich in iodine, glutamic acid, alginates, potassium, and fucoidan, all compounds that modern research ties directly to metabolic health and detox. What makes this habit particularly potent for belly fat is its direct effect on the thyroid, the body's metabolic command center. A 2024 thyroid function study from Nagasaki University found that people who consumed kombu-infused water daily showed improved T3 hormone conversion and a 15% boost in basal metabolic rate within just 4 weeks, meaning more calories burned at rest, exactly what stubborn belly fat cases require. Kombu also contains alginates, naturally occurring fibers that bind to heavy metals and environmental toxins in the gut, the very substances that slow the thyroid and push the body into fat storage mode. Japanese centenarians often credited kombu water for their lifelong light stomachs, meaning minimal digestive burden upon waking. Kombu's glutamates stimulate the stomach lining, waking gastric cells gently and priming the digestive tract without the acidic shock of coffee. Kombu water also has a grounding, calming effect on the nervous system due to its mineral profile, which means lower cortisol and less instruction to the body to store fat, especially visceral fat. Soak a strip of kombu in warm water overnight, then sip the mild infusion in the morning. The 9th habit is warming the spine with a bamboo tapping stick every morning to activate lymph flow and unfreeze metabolic pathways. This practice is so deeply embedded in Japanese folk wellness that versions of it appear everywhere from rural grandmothers in Akita to martial arts dojos in Osaka, yet almost no one in the West realizes how profoundly it affects belly fat, inflammation, and metabolic awakening. It is the practice of take fumi or take-uchi, lightly tapping or rolling a bamboo stick up and down the spine and hips first thing in the morning. The spine houses not only the central nervous system but also the thoracic duct, the main drainage channel of the lymphatic system, through which nearly 75% of the body's lymph flows. Every toxin, inflammatory byproduct, and fat processing molecule eventually travels through this highway. A 2024 Kyoto Institute of Somatic Medicine study showed that light percussive tapping along the spine increased lymphatic movement by a remarkable 31%, the equivalent of a brisk 25-minute walk but without leaving your bedroom. Lymph is what transports digested fats from the intestines into circulation. When lymph flow stagnates, those fats harden into visceral deposits or settle as stubborn lower belly bulge. The bamboo tapping wakes the nervous system, softens the fascia around the ribs and hips, and stimulates small mechanoreceptors in the skin that signal the brain to shift from night mode into metabolic readiness. Bamboo is specifically used because it carries a light electrical charge and natural resonance, producing a frequency that relaxes sympathetic tension and enhances circulation. Tap along your spine, hips, and thighs for 1 minute each morning and you will feel a gentle internal warmth radiating from your core. The 8th habit is rubbing the ears vigorously in the morning to stimulate organ reflex points and jumpstart fat-burning hormones. In Japanese morning health culture, momomi, or ear rubbing, is considered a direct switch that activates organ reflex zones, hormonal signaling pathways, and even brown fat activation. The ears contain more than 100 acupressure points tied to the liver, stomach, pancreas, kidneys, thyroid, and adrenals, all organs that determine whether the body burns fat or stores it. A 2023 Tokyo endocrine reflexology study found that vigorous ear rubbing for 90 seconds increased thyroid hormone output measurably within 20 minutes and significantly improved insulin sensitivity before breakfast. Rubbing the ears increases circulation rapidly, sending a burst of blood and oxygen to the organs they correspond to. The increased flow to the thyroid boosts metabolic rate, stimulation of the adrenal points balances cortisol, and massaging the outer ridge associated with the small intestine improves digestive enzyme release. Rubbing the ears also increases heat generation through activation of brown adipose tissue around the shoulders and upper chest. Brown adipose tissue burns calories to generate warmth, and Japanese researchers discovered that ear stimulation increases localized temperature by up to 1.2 degrees Celsius, enough to increase whole-body energy expenditure for several hours. Elders in rural Japan often rub their ears until they turn red, believing that cold ears mean a cold stomach, and cold stomachs digest poorly and accumulate fat. Rub your ears firmly from top to bottom and inside to outside, tugging the lobes gently until they tingle and glow warm. Within minutes you will feel your face awaken, your chest open, and a clarity spread through your belly. The 7th habit is drinking roasted sesame seed tea at dawn to lubricate the intestines and dissolve oxidative belly fat. This detox ritual is so ancient that only older generations and traditional healers still practice it widely, yet physiologically it is one of the most elegant digestive resets Japan has ever produced. It is the consumption of gomacha, a dawn tea made by gently roasting sesame seeds and steeping them in hot water. This is not simply a soothing drink. It is a biochemical cleanse targeting oxidative visceral fat and intestinal dryness, both major contributors to stubborn belly weight. Sesame seeds contain sesamin, sesamoline, and gamma-tocopherol, compounds shown in a 2024 Shiga University metabolic study to reduce oxidative stress markers in visceral fat cells by up to 38%, meaning the fat becomes softer, less inflamed, and easier for the body to break down. The Japanese traditionally drink gomacha specifically at dawn because the liver and gallbladder, which govern fat breakdown, are most responsive to oils and warm liquids in the early morning. Sesame tea gently coats the intestines, preventing the friction and dryness caused by chronic stress, dehydration, and high-carbohydrate diets. When the intestines are dry, peristalsis slows, toxins linger, and belly fat accumulates as a buffer. The warmth of the tea also dilates the abdominal capillaries, improving blood flow to digestive organs and allowing the liver to mobilize fatty acids more efficiently. Roast a tablespoon of sesame seeds until fragrant, steep in hot water, strain, and sip slowly. You will feel a velvety warmth spreading through the gut, a loosening beneath the ribs, and a steady grounded energy rather than a jittery caffeine buzz. The 6th habit is splashing ice-cold water on the lower spine to shock the kidneys awake and trigger metabolic thermogenesis. This is one of Japan's most shocking morning detox traditions in the most literal sense. The practice of koshi mizu involves pouring or splashing ice-cold water directly onto the lower back over the kidneys immediately after waking. This method has been used in northern Japan for centuries, particularly in farming communities that needed rapid morning alertness and metabolic heat before working in cold fields. A 2023 Niigata cryotherapy research study showed that cold exposure targeted at the lower back increased norepinephrine production by 26% and activated brown fat thermogenesis far more effectively than facial cold plunges. The kidneys and adrenal glands sit directly behind the lower spine, and shocking them with cold water forces the body to generate heat, mobilize fatty acids, and increase circulation to the core, meaning more oxygen delivered to stubborn abdominal fat. The cold also tightens the fascia around the lower abdomen, improving lymphatic drainage from the pelvis, a region where stagnant lymph commonly contributes to lower belly swelling. Japanese practitioners say that cold on the back warms the front, meaning that stimulating the kidneys ignites digestive fire. The cold application also stabilizes morning cortisol, preventing the spike that leads to carbohydrate cravings and mid-morning hunger. Splash your lower back with cold water for 10 to 15 seconds while standing in the shower and you will feel a deep reflexive inhalation followed by a burst of warmth rising from the belly upward. The fifth habit is eating grated apple with cinnamon as the first solid food of the day to sweep the gut and regulate insulin before breakfast. This morning habit looks deceptively familiar yet is uniquely Japanese in both preparation and purpose. Suryoji Ringo, grated raw apple eaten before breakfast and often mixed with a pinch of cinnamon or ginger, is treated like a medicinal pre-meal rather than a fruit snack. Grating the apple ruptures its cell walls, releasing pectin, malic acid, and quercetin far more effectively than chewing ever could. A 2024 digestive health study from Nagano Nutrition Center showed that grated apple eaten on an empty stomach improved gastric emptying by 19%, reduced intestinal inflammation, and lowered post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 32%. Pectin acts like a gel that sweeps toxins, spent hormones, and bile acids from the gut, preventing them from re-entering the bloodstream and forcing the liver to store fat. Malic acid dissolves stagnant mucus in the intestines, allowing nutrients to be absorbed properly rather than fermenting. Cinnamon adds an insulin-regulating effect, calming the morning glucose response that drives fat storage. Japanese mothers give grated apple to children recovering from digestive upset because it resets the stomach, but modern science also shows that it primes the microbiome for diversity and increases butyrate production, a short-chain fatty acid tied to fat burning and gut lining repair. Eating it before breakfast ensures the gut is cleared, soothed, and prepared, meaning fewer cravings, better digestion, and smoother metabolism all day. The fourth habit is steaming the face with herbal vapor in the morning to clear liver heat, drain facial lymph, and activate metabolic enzymes through the skin. This Japanese ritual is so old that traces of it appear in Heian-era court diaries and Edo period herbal manuscripts, yet it remains almost completely unknown outside Japan. Asa mushi, the practice of steaming the face every morning with hot herbal vapor, is used to purge stagnant energy from the liver and flush toxins stored in the lymph of the face, neck, and jaw. The Japanese understand that the face is a map of internal health. Puffiness under the eyes signals kidney stagnation. Swelling around the jaw reflects clogged lymph. Dull skin reflects slow liver detox. So they begin their day not with cosmetics but with vapor made from yomogi mugwort, yuzu peel, green tea leaves, or shiso poured into a wooden or ceramic bowl, draped with a towel, and inhaled deeply. The heat alone increases microcirculation in the facial tissues by nearly 40%, according to a 2024 dermatophysiology study from Kobe University, which means the lymph especially behind the jaw and under the ears begins moving rapidly, carrying waste away from the brain and gut. Mugwort contains cineol and thujone, compounds that dilate lymph vessels. Yuzu peel contains limonene, which not only calms inflammation but increases phase 2 liver detox enzymes essential for fat metabolism. Green tea vapor releases EGCG in microaerosol form that penetrates the skin and activates antioxidant pathways directly in the dermis. Facial swelling is often a symptom of systemic lymph congestion, especially in the chest and abdomen. When lymph cannot drain from the head, it also cannot drain from the gut. Asa mushi decongests the upper lymphatic circuit, which then allows the thoracic duct running down the spine to clear, enabling fat-bound toxins to finally move out instead of forcing the body to store them. Many older Japanese say that steaming the face lightens the whole body, and researchers found reduced inflammatory cytokines in saliva and increased digestive enzyme output after just 7 minutes of herbal steam inhalation. Hold your face over a bowl of hot water steeped with citrus peel or green tea for 2 minutes and you will feel pressure release behind your eyes, your jaw soften, your breath deepen, and a subtle lifting sensation in your abdomen. The third habit is lying on a rolled towel under the spine in the morning to realign the rib cage, flatten the lower belly, and restore diaphragm mobility. This looks absurdly simple, but in Japan this ritual is known as Saikosta Makura, the bone alignment pillow, and it is practiced across chiropractic clinics, yoga studios, martial arts dojos, and in the homes of millions of people because of its remarkable effect on posture, organ positioning, and belly fat reduction. All you do is lie flat on your back with a rolled towel placed horizontally under the lower ribs or at the base of the shoulder blades. Most modern bodies, slumped over screens and collapsing forward, have ribs rotated inward that compress the diaphragm and stomach, causing shallow breathing, poor digestion, and sluggish fat metabolism. A 2023 structural physiology study from Keio University found that lying on a rolled towel for just 5 minutes increased diaphragm excursion by 17%, improved lung capacity, and temporarily reduced abdominal girth by repositioning the rib cage and allowing the organs to hang properly. The effect on the iliopsoas is equally powerful. This deep hip flexor muscle becomes tight from sitting and pushes the belly outward. When the spine is elevated by the towel, the psoas lengthens, the pelvis tilts back into neutral, and the lower abdomen retracts naturally through mechanical correction rather than muscular effort. This immediately improves lymphatic drainage through the cisterna chyli, the major lymph reservoir below the diaphragm, meaning toxins and fat droplets can finally move upward into the thoracic duct for elimination. Lie for 5 minutes with arms overhead, feet relaxed, and breathe deeply into the belly. You will feel your ribs widen, your stomach flatten, and a warmth gather around your solar plexus. The second habit is drinking barley and black soybean porridge to calm the spleen, lower blood sugar, and burn belly fat through gut-stabilizing starches. This ancient Japanese breakfast ritual known as Muji Daizu Okayu is one of the most metabolically intelligent meals ever devised, and almost nobody outside Japan has heard of it. This slow-simmered porridge made from pearled barley and black soybeans is a hormonal masterpiece that regulates appetite, balances insulin, calms digestive inflammation, and transforms belly fat metabolism from the inside out. Barley is loaded with beta-glucans, viscous soluble fibers that slow glucose absorption dramatically. A 2024 Japanese endocrine nutrition trial found that participants who ate barley porridge for breakfast reduced their post-meal blood sugar spikes by 41%, experienced lower CRP inflammation levels, and showed increased levels of GLP-1, the same satiety hormone targeted by weight loss drugs like semaglutide. Black soybeans meanwhile contain anthocyanins and isoflavones that improve insulin sensitivity and reduce visceral fat growth specifically in the abdominal cavity. Traditional Japanese medicine teaches that this porridge strengthens the spleen, meaning it optimizes digestion and nutrient extraction rather than allowing food to stagnate and ferment. When digestion is strong and steady, the body stops signaling hunger through cravings and stops storing emergency fat around the organs. The slow cooking process transforms the barley and beans into a gentle, soothing, thickened broth that coats the stomach and stabilizes blood sugar for hours, preventing the morning cortisol spike that drives belly fat accumulation. Elders often eat Muji Daizu Okayu during seasonal transitions to reset the stomach, while monks rely on it during fast breaking because it supports the gut without overwhelming it. The first and most fundamental habit is walking in absolute silence for 108 steps each morning to synchronize breath, metabolism, and emotional detox with the rising day. This is the final habit, the one that ties every other Japanese detox ritual together, not through food, not through herbs, not through posture, but through rhythm, breath, and silence. The practice involves walking exactly 108 steps in the morning with no talking, no phone, and no distractions whatsoever. This number is sacred in Buddhism and Shintoism, symbolizing the release of 108 earthly desires or attachments. But it also carries a remarkable physiological effect. Morning silence lowers sympathetic nervous system activity, stabilizing cortisol and allowing insulin to rise gently instead of spiking. Meanwhile, walking synchronizes breath with motion, improving oxygenation to the abdominal cavity, which according to a 2024 metabolic respiration study from Tohoku University boosts fat oxidation by up to 19% during the first hours of the day. The Japanese walk slowly and intentionally, often barefoot or in thin-soled shoes, allowing the foot's pressure points to stimulate organs along the kidney and liver meridians. Each step pumps lymph from the legs upward, clearing stagnation in the lower belly and pelvis, two regions notoriously prone to storing fat when circulation is poor. The silence is the secret ingredient. When the mind quiets, the vagus nerve relaxes, digestion activates, and emotional tension stored in the diaphragm dissolves. Traditional Japanese healers say that if the first breaths of the day are peaceful, the stomach will not harden, meaning metabolism stays flexible and responsive rather than reactive and blocked. Walking exactly 108 steps creates a ritual container long enough to shift your physiology yet short enough to practice every single day. It is a circadian anchor that tells the body to wake gently, detox fully, and move intentionally. You have now seen the truth behind how Japan approaches health and longevity. Japan does not stay slim, energetic, and ageless by accident. They are not genetically blessed. They are not running marathons at sunrise. They are practicing tiny, deliberate, biologically precise habits that detoxify the liver, calm the nervous system, reset hormones, and melt fat silently before most people in the modern world even open their eyes. Your body wants to burn fat. It is genuinely trying to. It simply cannot do it effectively when it is inflamed, toxic, stressed, undersupported, and drowning in modern chaos. But now you know the habits that change everything. If even one of these Japanese rituals resonated with you, begin it tomorrow morning. Just one. Your body will feel it. Your mind will feel it. And within days you will begin to understand why Japan does not struggle the way the Western world does. This is only the beginning. Morning detox is phase 1. The real magic, the deep healing, the hormonal reset, and the overnight fat burning that happens after sunset, all of that remains to be discovered. Your body is not broken. It is simply waiting for you to treat it the way Japan has treated theirs for centuries.